Hey everyone, my name is David Dunbar, or the Theme Park Evangelist. So I did a 30-second just instrumental introduction to my YouTube video. As I told you guys last night when I was doing my YouTube video on the new seating arrangement that is completely in effect for my church, Hebron Baptist Church, as of November 15th, 2020. Which was exactly a week ago, which is ironic because that's the same exact day that the power went out here in northern Kentucky, greater Cincinnati area. Also the same exact day that I was up in Cleveland, so go figure on that. Today the power did not go out. Yay, praise God for that one. But yet last night I did mention that I was going to do a very special YouTube video today. I'm doing a full virtual tour of my church. So what do I mean by full? That means anything that is technically visible to the public, or what the pastors and all that consider open to the public, I am allowing you guys to see. Anything I don't believe is supposed to be seen to the public, I'm keeping off limits. So for example, the pastor's offices will walk past it, but I'm not going to show it to you guys. Anything I don't want you to see, I have the lights off for, and it's off for obviously a reason, so you guys cannot see it. Anything I do want you guys to see, I have the lights on already. I actually went around the entire church just prior to starting this YouTube video, so I could have all the lights on. So I obviously started walking around the entire church and turning on all the lights. So it would be show ready, Disney term there, prior to this YouTube video being filmed. If that makes any sense. Maybe I'm confusing my own self. Anyway, so let's get started. Welcome to Hebron Baptist Church. We're going to start outside like everybody else. You got your exit only, and you got your entrance. And this is, of course, something you're going to see a lot of places in northern Kentucky and just Kentucky in general. Do you feel sick? Stop. If you're sick or have been in the last 24 hours, please do not enter. And you got the whole COVID-19 thing. So we're going to enter the doors. You're going to have your counter right there where all the face masks are at, and then you'll officially be there in the lobby. So let's go ahead and go inside all the way. So now that we're inside, this is obviously the room you guys have seen the most, and the sanctuary for that matter. So we're here in the lobby. Normally the ushers have designated chairs that they can sit at. One there, one there. That's the audio booth. We'll go in there in a minute. And then we have another chair right over there. So the audio booth is not officially open to the public. However, though, it's not like you can't see it if you're in the sanctuary. So to me, it doesn't matter. And then currently we do serve coffee over here. At one point, it was actually being served right over there in this corner. Unfortunately, due to COVID regulations, we've had to change all that. Like the elevator, at one point we used to have a lot of people using the elevator, and then of course due to COVID regulations, this is what's going on right now. So I know it's very sad. I feel like my tongue gets tied all the time, and I try to keep this lobby as clean as possible. Of course things are going to happen in a building when it's hardly ever used, so you're going to see stuff, and I come in, I clean it all the time. So for the most part, it looks very, very good. It also depends on who's cleaning it. We have a cleaning company starting eventually, so hopefully that will help. And of course, my church is actually affiliated with different cities. London, London, England, I should say, because I cannot. Every time I think about the right thing, I get tongue-tied. London, England, Boston, Massachusetts, Salt Lake City, Utah, and Cincinnati, Ohio. So obviously, Cincinnati, since we're so close. We actually know a pastor out in London, England. His name is Pastor Steve Messersmith. And I forget, honestly, the name of the church, but I would love to go out there for many reasons, but I would also love to go see that church. We also do a lot of like mission trips out to Salt Lake City, Utah, and Boston, Massachusetts. So I wanted to point out all that as well. So this is obviously, the very first place we're going to start out with. I also wanted to point out this board I have not really talked about a lot. And then there's one other thing in this lobby I would like to point out as well. So this is our Go and Tell board. And this was something that we had wanted to start earlier this year. Each ball has a special symbol. So the blue ones mean I invited someone to church. The yellow ones mean I invited someone to my life group. The orange ones mean I invited someone to a missional meal. And then the black and white ones mean I invited someone to Christ. That is the most important ones. And then, of course, this was supposed to be our big deal this year. Unfortunately, due to COVID, that has been pushed on the back burner. It's not that we don't want people to worry about it. It's called that we would rather keep people safe right now, and maybe we'll try to get around to it again next year, which next year is almost here. And, as you guys can see, we had a lot of events that we were going to do. Like, one thing that was on here not too long ago was we were going to Ark Encounter to see Keith and Kristen Getty. And I thought my parents were the only ones that were interested in Keith and Kristen Getty, and I guess I was wrong. My church seems to be very interested in them as well, so that unfortunately was canceled due to COVID, and a lot of those other events, as you guys saw as well, are also canceled due to COVID as well. So it's, really sad. This building alone is actually 16 years old. I'll take a picture of it in a little bit. So this is the audio booth. I don't really want to show too much because it's a little bit of a mess, but this is where all the magic happens. This is the first time I've ever seen like an electrical board like that. And me and a few other people are the ones that are responsible for making everything look super nice for the service every single week. And, it's all for God's glory, and that's all that matters. But yes, it's not like you can't see them during the service, so I really wanted you guys to see that. Now, we're not going to go into any of these rooms, but I also wanted to point out some of the rooms. So this is the secretary's office. Any phone calls that you have to the church, it's all going to go directly to our Secretary Kay. I'm not going to say her last name for personal reasons, but she's a total sweetheart. I love her to death. And honestly, she has a very pretty view of the city, and I love some of the trees out there. Of course, right now it's getting into winter time. I mean, I know it's late November still, so actually we're a little less than a month away from winter, so that's crazy. But that's where all the phone calls would go. I'm not 100% sure who all these gentlemen are, apparently, or supposedly, really. These, I guess, were all former pastors or important people that were in charge of the church. I'm not actually sure who Sean Edwards is. I'm assuming that he was the former pastor of this church prior to the current pastor that we have. And then I'm assuming that these are also, or I'm also assuming these are all part of the board of the church, or board of trustees or something like that. But I know for a fact that was a former Sean. And ironically, he looks pretty similar to our current pastor. This is his office, and he has a lot of books on like biblical advice and stuff like that. And he's also a sports fanatic, which is awesome. This is of course, the conference room. I discussed that last night. And then our worship leader's office is right here. This is the pastor, Sean. Too funny that he has the same name. And then that is the youth pastor's room. And honestly, there really isn't a lot to see in there. I honestly don't think he would mind me showing it, but I'm not going to anyway. Now we're going to go to the other side of the church. And honestly, I think you guys would love to see that because there's a lot of cool stuff to see. And then I'll do a quick sweep through the sanctuary, which you guys have seen quite a bit of that, but I'll show it again anyway. But, the funny thing is all of my pastors are pretty much in their 30s, so I do love the church for the fact that not only do I really receive God's word, and not only do I think that I'm like totally getting into God's word, but also the fact that a lot of the pastors are close to my age, so I really feel like I'm getting God's word that way too. So this is the nursery. We have childcare upstairs all the way up to 4-year-olds, and then we have more childcare downstairs. All childcare at this church has been canceled until December 13th currently due to COVID regulations here in the state of Kentucky. So hopefully that will change by then. Of course, I pointed out yesterday our main restrooms are right here. We were using our water fountains, but I think we shut them off due to COVID regulations as well because they were open at one point. And then we do have 2 active Sunday school classrooms. We try to limit the use of our Sunday school classrooms due to COVID as well. But we did finally put tables back in, so I guess we're finally moving in the right direction. And then as I pointed out last night, we're going to go down this way in order to get downstairs because we have to maintain social distancing at all times. I technically can get away with going whichever way right now, but if there were people here, this would be the way we need to go because we don't want to bump into other people. So this is something I've never pointed out before. So if you were going to come in for a church downstairs, back before COVID, I shouldn't say back before COVID. Back when COVID was really bad, we would have everybody parking down here on this side of the parking lot and coming through these doors. And we do have face masks down here because we're aware that people still park down here and then would enter through these doors. This is also the main area for teachers and also parents to drop off their kids for our preschool called Cornerstone. And the parent pickup or the kid pickup is on the other side of the building, which makes sense. But I think they could also be picked up on this side too. But that's pretty much how it works. And that's Monday through Friday. I think mainly Tuesday through no, not Monday through Friday. Tuesday through Thursday mainly, but there are a few classrooms that meet here Tuesday through Thursday, and I should say a few that meet Monday, and then most of them meet Tuesday through Thursday. So, I'm getting my own self confused, but yeah, you would come through here. So we're gonna go through this door. All the classrooms are on this side, and there are more restrooms down here, which don't get used as often as the ones upstairs do. Now, ironically, this water fountain's still plugged in, so I don't get that. I guess because it doesn't get used as often. I'm still the only one here, just because of the fact that COVID's keeping a lot of people away. But that's okay, because it gives me the chance to get this church cleaned alone. And that's actually what I'm going to be doing all afternoon to the early evening, is cleaning this whole entire downstairs, and then I'm going to be doing part of the upstairs as well. So I'm showing you guys the entire hallway, and then I'm going to backtrack and show you guys some of the classrooms. So that was the elevator I just showed you guys. That's where it dumps out, right here, right in front of the fellowship hall. And then we're going to keep going. This is where we were having like a food pantry drop off. And here is the other side. And this is actually where our trunk or treat was at not too long ago. So, yeah, that's pretty much everything, like, as far as the downstairs. Now I'll show you some of the rooms. And one of the last things I'll show you before I'm done with my vlog is the sanctuary. I did promise you guys that. Excuse me. I have showed it to you guys many times. So this is our Sunday school room for the downstairs. This is mainly the ladies. It looks like they still have no tables in here, so that's interesting. No, I have shown you guys the fellowship hall, but I haven't really shown a thorough, detailed look at it. So we've got a kitchen in here. I'm going to keep that off limits because it's not much to look at. But we do use it every now and then for like special events and stuff like that. And as of right now, this is where you would go if we're using like Sanctuary Overflow. So you don't have to like get an assigned seat anymore. It still looks pretty good, even though I feel like the guy who cleaned it last week didn't do that great of a job, but I only can guess because I wasn't actually here. I was in Cleveland. We have storage back there. If we need more chairs, we can pull them out of there. We also have more cleaning supplies back there. There's the big TVs that you can see the service on. And of course, we have the sound projected through the ceiling, which is so cool. I'm assuming that back there we have whatever you call it. I guess you could say like part of a children's church or something like that. I don't remember. I know they've used it for children's church of some sort. And then of course we do have a playground outside. This is mainly for Cornerstone, and it does actually get used quite often, so it is in very good condition. Very good condition. This is the Sunday school room straight ahead. We're going to go to it right now. This is a very cool room. I don't actually know if they met this morning or not. It looks like they might have, but it doesn't look like they went over crazy with the breakfast or anything. Normally they go all out for breakfast. I've seen them get all kinds of cool things down here, like Dunkin' Donuts. This church has more money than you think it does, but that's as much as I'm going to say. But I mean, it's a small church, but they can afford stuff. So we're doing very well. That's my college pastor in that picture right over there. Not that you can see him. But yeah, this technically is his room, but also he shares it with other people, and it's kind of a cool room, you know. It's definitely got that youth college vibe to it. This is definitely more for the teenagers, for sure. And I always try to come in here and make sure it looks nice and clean every Sunday, because it's really the only chance I get, because it's always occupied during the week. I don't actually know if there will be anybody here this week due to COVID regulations just being tighter than normal. And unfortunately, Andy Bashir is very strict about how things are run around here. So I'm not saying that's a bad thing, though. It can be, but it's not always a bad thing. Well, when I go upstairs in the sanctuary, while we're walking around, not only will I tell you guys a little bit about the sanctuary, I also wanted to tell you guys how special this church is to me, why I've stuck around all this time, and something that the church did that stood out to me, even though it's been over a year since, it happened. So, meet you guys in the sanctuary. Welcome to the sanctuary. Of course, you guys have been in here a few times. It's very pretty. I love the stained glass. And when the light hits it just right, it's so pretty. I actually have a picture of it, but of course I deleted it, so I should have added it onto my video, but that's okay. So I might have mentioned it before, this piano actually used to be right over there, but for a while we didn't actually have a piano player, so we decided to move it up here. Now we have another piano player, another piano, and now we actually do have a piano player, so the worship leader is able to go play his guitar again. That's it right there. And we do not have an organist right now, but we actually do have an organ. I'll show you guys a closer look at it. And that's it right there. And yes, that is the baptismal back there. It's right in front of the giant stained glass I was talking to you guys about. And honestly, I did not know that behind both of these doors right there and right over there is a restroom on either side. And that's how people change before and after the baptisms. And then there is a special walkway around the entire baptismal. And then, of course, there is a walkway into the baptismal, which makes sense. And the other funny thing is, as I'm walking around this, or showing you guys this area, there's the audio booth again. The very interesting thing about the area back there, I guess there was another way into the church, which we no longer use. And we did have a way for older people to get into the church. So you guys probably remember those electric chairs that you would sit on, and you would press the button and you would bring yourself up. And you would see this in a lot of homes. So it's a very steep staircase. And I don't know if it's actually still in operation or not. But the thing is, they don't need to use it anymore, so it just kind of sits there. And a fun fact about this. So you might think that is just a regular mirror, but actually it's a one-way mirror for this room, which I forgot to point out earlier. This is our cry room. I know, not something you see very often, but cry room is for people if they're just having a really hard time during the service, something to, especially the sermon, if something just hits them hard during the sermon, and they just need to go in there. And I actually did hear someone go in there earlier. Just the sermon today was on 2 Peter chapter 3, which was regarding Jesus' second coming, and I guess it just hit someone really hard today, and they had to go in there. And the first time I saw it, I was like, what in the world is this? And as soon as I went in there, I realized, oh, it's just an empty room, and that's it. And now I understand, with some chairs, and you can actually still hear the sermon in there because it has speakers in there, so that's kind of cool. So there's more to the room than I thought. But that's crazy, though. I mean, I couldn't even, imagine what some people are thinking and feeling during the sermons. And I know sometimes the sermons can be hard. But here's the cool quick story I wanted to tell you guys before I wrap it up. So I moved from Central Florida to Northern Kentucky back in June 2019. Now, keep in mind, we didn't know anybody. We didn't know really anything about the area. So when Jonathan and I first got here, we assumed that our parents were going to be the only ones. So they had told us that they weren't going to be around very long, and they were going to go off to British Columbia for their anniversary, right? So Jonathan and I were supposed to have the responsibility of unloading the pod when it arrived, which it was supposed to arrive around the same time they were going to be gone. Figures, right? So, I'm thinking to myself, what we do? And then here comes another really cool part. my parents had already been here before. They had already explored the whole area, and they stumbled upon Hebron Baptist Church back in March of 2019. And they told them how they're moving to northern Kentucky in June of that year. And they told them about us, and they said they would be more than happy to help us. And when it finally did happen, they were still willing to do it. And I guess my parents forgot to give them enough notice that not everybody was able to help. So the worship leader, bless his heart, went out of his way to drive all the way to Ellesmere from Burlington, which that's quite a bit of a drive. I'm not telling you guys where we live now, but I'll just tell you guys this much. We're a lot closer to the church than we used to be. We used to be about 20 minutes away. Now we're pretty close. Close enough that I can get here quickly. Let's just put it that way. So, the worship leader drove all the way to the church. From his house, which was near the church. Even though it was supposed to be a day he was supposed to be here at the church working, he gave it up just to help my brother and I move a bunch of heavy furniture into the house. And I'm just like, wow, and the church, really took us under their wing. And if you don't think that's cool enough, just check this out. So my dad, unfortunately, sorry, I messed up the camera there for a second. My dad, unfortunately, got diagnosed with kidney cancer earlier this year, back in February, around the same exact time that we had moved to northern Kentucky, but it had been a whole year at this point. And I've never seen a church send so many people to come and pray for him. Like almost everybody from the church showed up. All of the pastors showed up. Like obviously not everybody all at once. Like everybody came periodically over the course of a month. But it's like, wow, God really blessed us. And it was also because of that I, knew in my heart that this was where God meant for me to be. And I was like, wow, God, you really did mean for us to come here, didn't you? And if you think that's not good enough, not only did they do that, they provided free meals for us. One of the best meals we got, and you'll like this one. So there's an expensive barbecue restaurant called City Barbecue. And the one time my great uncle treated us, for 4 people, it was about $70. $70! And yet, one family took it upon themselves to buy a City Barbecue for dinner one night, and they didn't even go back and ask us for a refund of any sort, not even a partial refund. They just did that because they wanted to. And I saw so many people just bring us free meals, and they didn't want anything for it. And I'm trying to remember who arranged the whole ordeal. I think it was the worship leader's wife, if I remember correctly. I'm very sure, I'm 99.9% sure the worship leader's wife decided that she was going to arrange this whole ordeal, that she wanted everybody, if they could, to provide a free meal to my family and I during that difficult time, because my dad was stuck in a hospital. My mom was stuck at home trying to take care of us, and she was, stuck between working at a preschool, or daycare really, and my brother was out of work. My dad was out of work because my brother, of course, was forced to stay at home during quarantine. I was literally, I think my mom wasn't even working, if I remember correctly, but because if my brother wasn't working, then my mom wasn't working, if I remember. I was the only one working. It was a hard time. So I literally was the only one doing any kind of work around the house. Like, if you wanted to see my family during a dark time, that was it. Like, I was the only one that was able to bring any kind of money home. And the church pulled through because God knew that, we needed help. And God was going to bring it to us. Even though we didn't ask for it, God did it anyway. So I really hope that my few stories, or couple of stories, gives you encouragement today. And as I wrap up my vlog, if you haven't looked into checking out Hebron Baptist Church, I strongly encourage you to do it. You can learn more about Hebron Baptist Church by going on to hebronbaptist.org. You can also look them up on Facebook at Hebron Baptist Church. You can also learn more about Hebron Baptist Church just looking at my YouTube channel, which I've done a few of those. You can even look up Hebron Baptist Church on YouTube. They should have a YouTube channel called Hebron Baptist Church, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, guys, always remember, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Have a great night. Peace out. Well, really day, but it feels like nighttime out there. And hopefully I can do another YouTube video tomorrow, since I'm not really doing much of anything except coming here just to make sure everybody stays safe and the place stays clean. And I'm covering up the camera. That's always fun.